Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. This one's an interesting one I've been thinking about, and I have watched prior videos on it, and I've never really got a clear definitive answer. I've seen you guys making a lot of comments and giving some insight into it, and some of them were, I think, that people on not just carriages but riding horses would drive on the left side because then they're right hand, and right-handed was the predominant handedness. They would be able to pull out a sword and fight if they had to. That was one of the reasons anyways, or at least wagon drivers. I don't know. Let's get to the video, man. Let's check it out. It says right here, it all started in the Middle Ages. Hope y'all are doing fantastic. Leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts.
If you've ever visited the UK, it is hard to miss the fact that they drive on the left.
And in Australia,
this can be quite disorienting, as around 65% of the world drives on the right. Have you ever wondered why this is? Why did the UK and most of its former colonies choose to drive on the left? The answer is a rather long and complicated one. Let us explain. For starters, it should be noted that the practice of driving on the left even predates cars.
Thanks, Tips. Hey, is that a shot from Barry Lyndon? I think it probably is. Absolutely legendary film. I need to rewatch it. One of the most beautiful films ever. I didn't get it when I first watched it, and I'm a huge Kubrick stan. But when I watched it on Blu-ray, just a nice evening, and it was amazing.
It all started in the Middle Ages, and perhaps even further back to in ancient Greece and Rome. During those times, there was always the risk of being attacked while traveling. Since most people are right-handed, they tended to travel on the left to keep their sword-fighting hand free.
Oh, so there you go. Since most people were right-handed, they tended to travel on the left to keep their sword-fighting hand free. So just like, okay, makes sense.
Free in case of attack. Swordsmen preferred to keep to the left, so their right arm would be nearer to an opponent.
Keep left on guard.
This also reduced the chance of the scabbard hitting other people. It was also safer to mount and dismount towards the side of the road rather than in the middle of traffic. There is some evidence that this practice of riding on the left may have even gone as far as ancient Greece and Rome. And that wasn't the only case of people traveling to the left. For instance, in 1300 AD, Pope Boniface VIII declared that all pilgrims traveling to Rome should keep to the left. So how did people ever switch to the right? Well, it turns out Napoleon preferred to ride on the right, and so did Hitler. In fact, Hitler forced Czechoslovakia and Austria to switch to right-hand driving. However, since Britain resisted both Napoleon and Hitler, the country never switched to the right. One country that did not have to make the switch, however, was America. Although the US likely started...
I think Canada is thrown into that boat. I don't think we had to switch.
Started out riding on the left, as in England. The country has been driving on the right side of the road since colonial times. At that time, the country saw the use of large wagons that were drawn by several pairs of horses. These wagons had no driver's seat, and the driver sat on the horse at the rear left. Driving to the right meant the driver could see oncoming traffic, and it also made it less likely they would steer into a ditch. Although this has been
I feel like that reason's not necessarily a huge influencer. Maybe it is. I don't know. Because why did they always have to ride on the right, or the left side horse? Maybe some would prefer to ride on the right side horse. In that case, they'd prefer to ride on the left side of the road.
Practice since colonial times. It wasn't until 1792 and 1804, respectively, that Pennsylvania and New York made it official by regulating it. Many states then followed their example, but the practice was cemented when Henry Ford put the Model T's steering wheel on the left-hand side of the car. The mass production of affordable cars then saw many countries change their rules of the road. Meanwhile, in the UK, the massive wagons of the US weren't popular. Instead, vehicles in Britain were smaller and had seats for the driver to sit on behind the horses. As most people are right-handed, the driver would sit to the right of the seat in order to keep his whip hand free. This ensured that people kept driving to the left. In addition, 18th century London saw the introduction of a traffic law to make all vehicles on London Bridge keep to the left. This was in an effort to reduce collisions. The rule was then incorporated into the Highway Act of 1835 and was later adopted throughout the UK, making left-hand driving mandatory in Britain. The 20th century saw an attempt to harmonize road laws in Europe, leading to a shift in right-hand driving, but that didn't affect the UK. Today, there are around 78 countries and territories that drive on the left.
Interesting stuff. So a lot of reasons, seemingly partially debatable, but it's like once an idea like that becomes entrenched in especially infrastructure now, like think about countries, if you tried to switch the UK to right-handed driving, just think about that. Like the infrastructure changes required would be astronomical. So it'll never happen. Canada, we drive on the right. I think I would get the hang of it pretty quickly if I went to the UK or if I went to Australia, if I went anywhere driving on the left. Just as it would be a learning curve in other ways and rules of the road. Anyways, certainly interesting stuff. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out, my friends.